A lot of people think work is what's burning them out, and sometimes it is. But what if your burnout is coming from something actually deeper? What if it's not just your job, but the emotional weight you never put down, the grief you never process, the pressure you constantly carrying, the overthinking, the people pleasing, the survival mode you've been stuck in for years? Because one thing I learned is most people don't actually know where their burnout is coming from. They just know they're exhausted. I'm Cyrus Ausar. I run a burnout recovery center, and after working with people for over 25 years, I realized something important. A lot of people are trying to fix burnout without understanding the real source of it. And if you don't understand the real source, you'll keep trying to fix the wrong thing. Most people think burnout is about doing too much, but a lot of burnout actually comes from carrying too much emotionally. And emotional weight is dangerous because you can carry it for years without realizing how much is actually draining you. Unresolved grief, constant pressure, emotional survival, fear of disappointing people, never feeling safe enough to rest, and that stuff adds up. And this is why some people go on vacation and still feel exhausted, because burnout isn't always about location. Sometimes it's about what's living in your mind every day. You ever notice how some people are physically resting, but mentally still carrying everything? Some people even feel guilty while resting, like their mind never fully gives them permission to relax. Still thinking, still worrying, still replaying conversations, still emotionally carrying pressure from years ago. And eventually, your body starts feeling what your mind has been carrying the whole time. That's why some people feel tired even when they technically haven't done much, because mental and emotional overload drains energy too. I remember working with a client who thought their job was destroying them. Every day felt exhausting. They were emotionally drained, overwhelmed, disconnected, and mentally tired all at the same time. And at first, they blamed work completely. They thought, if I could just leave this job, everything will finally feel better. But after we worked through sessions together, we realized the real issue wasn't actually the job. They had never emotionally recovered from losing a parent years ago. They kept functioning, kept working, kept showing up, but internally, they never found peace. And eventually, that emotional weight showed up as burnout. And once we identified where the burnout was actually coming from, everything changed. Because now we weren't just reacting to symptoms anymore. We were addressing a real issue. We were able to create a customized recovery plan that actually fit their life, instead of just telling them to rest more. And over time, they stopped feeling like they were emotionally drowning every day. That's why I always tell people, burnout is deeper than most people realize. Because sometimes the thing exhausting you isn't what's happening right now. It's what you've been carrying for years. And a lot of high functioning people become experts at surviving emotionally while slowly disconnecting internally. That's dangerous because eventually you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You're just functioning. And this is why burnout gets misdiagnosed so often. People think I need motivation, I need discipline, I need a vacation, but sometimes you don't need motivation, you need peace. Sometimes you don't need productivity advice, you need emotional recovery. Because unresolved emotional pressure quietly drains people for years, trying to hold everything together, trying not to break down, trying to stay strong for everybody else. And a lot of people try to outwork what they actually need to emotionally heal from, because slowing down will force them to feel what they've been avoiding. That becomes exhausting. Let me say this in the most simplest way possible. Burnout usually isn't caused by one thing. It's layers. Pressure layered on grief, responsibility layered on exhaustion, people pleasing layered on overthinking, stress layered on emotional survival, and eventually your mind and body start responding to all of that at once. Eventually your body starts responding to stress your mind has been carrying for years. Trouble sleeping, constant tension, mental fatigue, emotional numbness. Burnout always finds a way to show up. That's why burnout can feel confusing, because the thing you think is causing it might only be the thing that's exposing it. I've been coaching and working with people for over 25 years. I've had clients who thought their burnout was coming from their spouse, when really it was a deep feeling of underachievement. So they kept pushing, working harder, trying to accomplish more, but never actually feeling satisfied internally. That's why burnout recovery has to start with identification first. That's why I created resources like the free burnout check-in workbook, the burnout recovery path, my book, and my course to help people identify what's going on internally. And for people who need more deeper support, that's where the one-on-one sessions come in. Because once we identify the source, we can build a customized recovery plan that actually fits your life and help you remove the burnout at the root. You can get the free workbook in the description or just comment reset. So how do you actually figure out where your burnout is coming from? First, stop only looking at your schedule. Start looking at the emotional weight. Ask yourself, what have I been carrying emotionally that I've never actually dealt with? That question changes everything. Second, pay attention to what drains you mentally after it's over. Some people leave work tired, other people leave conversations tired, family interactions, conflict, overthinking, trying to keep everybody happy. That stuff drains energy too. Third, be honest about what parts of your life feel like emotional survival, because a lot of people aren't living peacefully. They're surviving emotionally, always tense, always alert, always carrying pressure internally. And your nervous system was never meant to live like that forever. The people who recover from burnout the healthiest usually stop asking, how do I become more productive? And start asking, what's actually draining my peace? Because burnout recovery is not just about rest. It's about understanding what's quietly exhausting you the entire time. And once you identify the real source, you stop randomly treating symptoms and finally start healing intentionally. A lot of people think burnout is just work stress, but sometimes it's deeper than that. Sometimes it's unresolved grief. Sometimes it's emotional pressure. Sometimes it's years of survival mode. Sometimes it's carrying everybody else while ignoring yourself. And if you never identify the real source, you'll keep trying to fix the symptom without healing the actual problem. You can't heal burnout if you keep misdiagnosing your pain. Burnout is not always about doing too much. Sometimes it's about carrying too much for too long. If you're ready to understand where your burnout is actually coming from, start with the burnout recovery path. It'll help you identify the emotional, mental, and lifestyle patterns that may be draining you. The link is in the description. And if this made you think differently, subscribe.